Welcome to the OtherWorldsGG Community Cast. This is episode number 23. I am joined today by Mellified and Alien Pickle. How are you guys doing today?
Doing wonderfully. It's been raining on and off here in Texas. The chickens got caught out the other day, so they were all soaked and looking miserable, but the sun's come out today and dried them off and dried the ground out a little bit.
Yeah.
But yeah, so
we should do a special about just chicken themed games because there are several.
Yeah,
Dude,
Chicken Detective.
Do chocobos count?
Well, there's Bionic Chicken that's on Steam, and then there's Chicken Detective that's like a Nor.
Yeah, chicken police.
Thing, or Chicken Police, yeah, whatever it is, that I saw on the Epic Store. And there's there's several.
I just unlocked the summon for the chicken in Yakuza Like a Dragon last night. I was pretty proud of myself for that.
Excellent. Is that the same chicken that used to manage the bar?
Yes. This one manages your candy shop. So yeah. Some weird chicken concepts there, but yeah, chickens are fun. They're certainly weird though. Not the brightest animals. God help
yeah,
them.
like Jurassic Park would have been a lot different if they'd have modeled the raptors' behavior on chickens, because they'd have just been kind of dumb, not really good predators.
Yeah.
What movie was it that actually had the raptors as like giant turkeys essentially? Forgetting what it was, but they more modeled the dinosaurs after like the actual feathery versions that I guess they're starting to say dinosaurs really were.
Well, there was Carnosaur 1, 2, and 3, where they were actually reverse engineered dinosaurs from chickens.
Okay.
Wow.
Yes, they had. Imagine like chicken eggs that had been infected with whatever secret science enzyme, and they're like being delivered to grocery stores everywhere, and then they hatch into raptors.
Oh, God.
That's the movie. Roger Corman. Thank you.
Yeah. Wow.
Yes.
Okay.
That's a little intense.
Oh, yeah.
It's dumber than it sounds, and it sounds pretty dumb, and it was. They made 3 of them. It's not like, Sharks of the Corn level of bad or anything, but what is really?
Yeah, that's a whole special level of awful. Oh dear. Well,
what I was gonna say was what have you guys been playing lately? A lot of. I know that we recently did a nice little dive into MechWarrior 5, with their new DLC and their instant action options, which greatly improves the game, and I dare say it's a far cry better than MechWarrior Online.
Yeah, it's an actual playable game now, as opposed to what shipped a year and something ago that was just kind of a Star Citizen level of alpha thing. It's still not like the missions themselves. There's still only like 6 types of missions. They added that beachhead thing, but other than that, it's like defend the building, go knock down some buildings.
Sure, but I feel like the difficulty comes in with when you do the instant action stuff. You can customize the game and the variants and like who you're going up against and how hard you want it to be. So, and like the different map types. So while the missions are different, the map rotations I feel do help add a little bit of a level complexity to it, right? Because you could have like defend these buildings, but there's 6 different map variants to do that on. So it's kind of like you're doing that in 6 different ways.
Yeah.
But
I don't know. I just feel like the game can have random missions that are spread around, right? But then it also needs to be like what BattleTech did, where, okay, you deal with the random missions, right? But then there's story missions that are actually pre-scripted and those are, what they are, right? So then you actually have a designed mission that is specific enemies and specific places, and there might be like, hey, if you run into these enemies, run away, don't try to kill them, like get the hell out of there kind of thing, because it's like it's designed to kill you if you try to overreach, but the other stuff is it's all basically like wave defense things, where it's like, okay, defend these buildings or kill this many guys, and okay, now you can stick around if you want, or you can extract now. Okay, sure. So I don't know. And then they put the tonnage limit stuff on still, which kind of makes it a pain whenever you're doing co-op, right? Because it's like, well, the mechs that I have, it would be cool to run like 3 mechs instead of 4, but there's 4 of us playing, so now we got to figure out how to get a 4th person in, and the tonnage limit and whatever. But if you saw I dropped a zip file because the mods are finally coming back for the thing. People are updating their stuff now, but there's a mod in that. It's a very small file. It's only like a meg or whatever, but there's a file in there that just removes tonnage limits on all the co-op missions, so no more of that. So that's good. I mean, I understand why it's there for single player, but co-op, it's a pain in the ass. So, switch that off. But other than that, it's some cosmetic stuff. It doesn't really like change gameplay a whole lot.
Right. Well, the thing that I do like about it, though, with the instant action stuff is like you don't have to wait for like a mech to be unlocked during the campaign portion of things. Like you can just pick and choose whatever you want.
Oh yeah, instant action's great because it's just like, hey man, there's 4 of us here. Let's go kill some stuff, and it's not, there's no persistence or whatever. It's just like drive whatever you want, and then we'll tune the difficulty to whatever everybody takes. And that's cool. Yeah.
Because I'm a sucker for a Marauder.
Well, I thought we had some really good times doing 3 and 4 players. I still have some weird technical issue with the game that isn't there with other games. I did a bunch of testing to try to isolate what was going on with the network on that, and never really got anywhere satisfactory. But I think the variety I would like to see, to your point, Jim, is give me a couple of different a couple extra mission types.
Yeah, something memorable in there, at least.
Well, and even some of the staples, right? Like, why is there not a convoy escort where you have a bunch of tanks or something?
Yeah,
or smaller mechs to protect from an attack. Like, I can imagine.
Breaker, this is Rubber Duck.
Yeah.
Well, the thing is, though, it kind of would be just like the base defense thing. It's like keep the convoy from being 50% destroyed instead of the city. But the thing with the convoy stuff is it's just like the vehicles are kind of paper, right? So
true.
It would be a thing like don't let them get hit at all. So that's, and the way that the game spawns stuff all around would make it really a bitch. So I see why they didn't.
I could see one of the things, though, that I think BattleTech struggles with in general is, why do you take a lighter mech? Why would you take a mech that isn't, an assault class?
Right, and that's the whole reason that they put tonnage limits, is to force you to use the lower half of the spectrum, right? Because otherwise everybody'd be in the heavies, and mediums are fun, but
because this is like
me too. Hey, let's all be.
Well, but that's what I'm saying. With a convoy mission, what would be interesting is it would give you a gameplay reason to want a lighter mech, because you could go scout around the convoy or ahead of the convoy.
Right, because you got to be fast, because you got to get there before. Yeah, exactly. Honestly, the best thing that's ever been in a MechWarrior game was in MechWarrior 4 when they had Capture the Flag in multiplayer. Because man, talk about light mechs shining. That was the place, right? Like, just you're in like an Owens, and you grab the flag and just haul ass,
Well, and I think there are things that they could still do, to your point, that would give you reasons beyond the arbitrary tonnage limit to go and mix it up, right?
Yeah.
Environmental conditions that nerf certain classes of weapons would be another one, right? There's an electrical storm, so your PPCs are not going to work right. So, take a variant that doesn't use PPCs or something like that would be kind of interesting.
Yeah, well, there was the one that we did that had the acid rain, and I was like, well, what's the disadvantage here?
Didn't seem to do anything.
Yeah, it didn't seem to do much. And so I don't know that there's really heat difference. I'll have to like put it on a hot planet and see, like, if I shoot the same lasers and then I go onto a cold planet and I shoot the same stuff, is there a difference in how much occurring? Because there should be, but
yeah,
I know in the initial release it didn't. So and see the other thing, people are like, well, space is cold, right? So when you're on a moon, I should have like no heat problems. Actually, quite the opposite, because the heat sinks get rid of heat by circulating air, and there's no air on the moon, so you're gonna get hot, right? So I don't know.
There's a series of books, and I'm The Legacy of the Al Dente, I think is the name of it, by John Ringo, and they end up, Earth gets contacted by aliens. They have to go out into space, and they don't have a deep space. It's like modern times, right? So what do? They actually take nuclear submarines and retrofit them for space duty, because they've already got pressure management and things like that. But one of the big issues they talk about in that is exactly what you're referring to, which is how the hell do you get rid of heat when there's nothing to carry the heat away from the ship? And that becomes actually a big plot point, is how they do that. But yeah, I mean, I feel like there's more untapped potential in MechWarrior 5. I'm encouraged to see the progress over the last year that they made, year and a half.
Well, and I know a lot of the modders were just holding, because they're like, this DLC's coming and they're going to radically change a lot of things. So we're not going to build out like the mod that we want to make. We're going to wait and see. And now those guys can get busy. So I know like Sean from No Guts, No Galaxy, they were working on a Mech Commander conversion. So you actually play it like a top-down 3D strategy thing. Yeah, it's like all AI on all your guys, but you select mechs and tell them where to go. So that's kind of cool.
Well, speaking of mods, though, there's also the MechWarrior Living Legends folks that are making a second version of the game using this new engine.
Mm-hmm.
So that ought to be interesting too, to see what they come up with.
Yeah, that's gonna get good, because if they do it like they did the last one, and I'm pretty sure that they will, because they were pretty strong about their commitment to it. No mech lab. You drive what's it's like it's by the book. You get what you get.
Right. This variant exists. Here it is. Go to it. Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, I have the Clan Invasion, the actual tabletop that was recently kickstarted, a year and a half ago, and I have not had an opportunity to play it. So we may have to figure out some sort of camera rigging system to do some tabletop stuff together, because I think that'd be a lot of fun too.
So back in 1986, I remember sitting at the kitchen table playing BattleTech with my friends over the telephone, because the hexes were numbered, right?
Yeah.
So it was just like it was like playing chess, right? It's like, okay, this guy moves to that square.
How cool!
Yeah, because before internets and computers.
Well, a bright future ahead for MechWarrior 5. I'm glad to see they kind of, maybe not quite to the level of No Man's Sky and Hello Games pulling it out of the fire, but they certainly redeemed MechWarrior 5 for me, and it sounds like for you guys as well.
Well, I feel like they've redeemed MechWarrior in general, because the thing that irritated the crap out of me with MechWarrior Online was there was no ComStomp availability.
Yeah.
And everything was a meta, right? And so it's just like because you're dealing with multiplayer, so everything's freaking meta based, and
Well, yeah, the stuff that worked on the tabletop that was cool does not work in multiplayer because it's like the Griffin, right? Is one of my favorite mechs on the tabletop, but you have one PPC and one LRM-10. That's it. If you miss, you miss, right? But then you're dealing with people that can alpha strike, with like a boat full of medium lasers, and they all hit the same place. So it's unlike random dice rolls and stuff. And yeah, so it's like when you make it real time, like all the board game balance goes right out the window. And I can appreciate that. So you have to basically make a whole different game that's inspired by the tabletop, which they did. But then they had to fight the people that were like, no, it's got to be the tabletop numbers, right? Like the whole time, like half the community is rabid about that. So they tried to make like a compromise in the middle. Then Harebrained Schemes, which is actually the guys that designed the original board game back in the like early 80s, right? I don't know if everybody knows that. That is FASA from back then. And when they did their thing, like after they did their Shadowrun games, and then they knock out this BattleTech thing, they brought like a lot of that Shadowrun stuff over. So now it's actually like the skills that the mech warrior has, and different mech warriors have different specialties, right? Like this guy's good with sensors, that guy's good, and it's like, okay, well that's cool, but boy, talk about a deviation from the tabletop stuff, huge. And that's kind of unwarranted there, because it's like it would have been great to have like an option, right? Like I can flip a switch, I can play it the way they want it, or I can play it the way I remember it. But there's mods for this now. But yeah, BattleTech Advanced. If you download that, turn off the clan bullshit, because clans are stupid. It just is, man. It's for power fantasy munchkins that wanted to like play with the big kids, and whatever. Clans are dumb. But yeah, if you play it in the era, because you can also set the era of like the mechs that'll spawn. If you play it like in 3025, get the fuck out of here. So, did you watch the video? Did you watch the video on the Marauder that I sent you? Like the whole thing?
Yeah.
Because whenever they were talking about the I forget what the mech was called, but it was basically like a ghetto Timberwolf. Yes. That's what the guy called it. Yes. It's like, yep.
Oh my god.
But yeah, so that's a mech that kind of, it was associated so much with the clans, but that thing could have happened in the Inner Sphere. It didn't need to be a clan thing. But it was, yeah, I don't know. The thing that I find scary is like the Marauder 2 is like, hey, it's 100 tons and it jumps, and it's bad. It's just bad news for everybody. But then they made the Mad Cat 2, and it's just like, oh, well, it's 100 tons and it jumps and it's got 2 LRM-20s and PPCs and medium lasers and it's just because clan bullshit, right? So it's like we can put all the weapons, and all of our heat sinks are double, and we can shoot twice as far for reasons. Yeah, in the lore, that's fine, because the clans used to bid tonnage, right? They're like, we can conquer your whole planet with like a third of the mechs that you have, right? Like, how many mechs do you bid, right? And so that made it fair, theoretically, in the lore. But whenever you're playing and it's like, okay, everybody brings a mech, right? And it's 4-on-4. Well, you get a clan mech on one side, and it's like, oh, well, hey, that guy's got 2 mechs. That's not good. And then whenever they brought the clan stuff to MechWarrior Online, it was instantly ridiculous, right? Because there it's a 12 versus 12 match, right? Well, if half of the people on one of the teams are running like boss ass clan mechs, then it's like, well, now we got to nerf down this clan stuff to make it actually like even Steven with the Inner Sphere stuff. But it's like, well, it shouldn't be. So boy, like they had balance problems before the clan stuff because of the real time, and then you add the clan crap, and it's just like, oh, hey, my heat sinks are double and my lasers are double, so whatever, right? Balance. But yeah, it's dumb.
Hunter, just a little bit inside baseball, I guess, for everybody listening. We have to come up with, a topic for every other show, and when we're not doing the news, and it's not that we don't have good ideas or interesting ideas, I think, but sometimes you're just not quite sure what to talk about. And this was one of those shows, and we said, we'll just, we'll start talking, and we'll see where it goes. And I think we now know that all we have to do to fill a podcast episode is ask Jim about his favorite clan max, and we can just fill, a podcast episode. I mean,
No, it's real easy. It's the Vapor Eagle. All right, we're done.
Well, so anyway, sure. No, I love your passion for this, because I am a very casual BattleTech fan, and I've always been interested in it, but I've never gotten super deep into it. So it's really neat to hear some of the details about it. So I really do appreciate you.
Yeah, it's like I read the novels, like the initial ones, because they were pretty cool, right? Like Grey Death Legion and like Decision at Thunder Rift and all the classic books, right? That were I think it was Michael Stackpole wrote those. Maybe he was the Star Wars guy. I don't know. Name sticks out for some reason. But anyway, I read those, and then the clan invasion, right? And I read like the first couple, and I was just like, no, because it just basically polluted the tabletop game, because people would show up with this ridiculous stuff, and then we had a house rule at the place that I gamed at, where it was just like, yeah, if you're playing like open table night or whatever, then feel free to make an atlas with 20 small lasers on it. We don't care. Just be as munchkin as you want to be. But when you actually show up on like league night, when we're playing the campaign stuff that we're keeping track of, because we were playing like spreadsheet BattleTech. It was kind of like that whatever the hell it was called that Hunter just bought, that Mech Force thing, or whatever it is.
Battle Force, yeah.
Yeah, Battle Force. We basically made our own version of that before it existed. So we were looking at like, tables of equipment of like what various factions had. So you could bring it if you had it, but if it got killed, you don't have it. And it was kind of a battle of attrition sort of thing, where we would do like planetary scale battles, where it's like, okay, we're going to fight in this valley, on this weekend or whatever. Some of them games, man, 12 hours long, easy. It was like show up at noon, go home at midnight, kind of thing. Yeah, but it was like, it was one of those hobby shop deals where they had like a giant train table. And like for train set stuff, how those are, they're huge, right? It's like an 8-foot by 12-foot table. They had one of those, and then one of the guys actually, he bought that insulation, the foam stuff that goes in the walls, and then he got like a hot wire thing that he could carve hills and rivers and crap, and he had like, and it was all it was in cubes, so you could rearrange it, and then you could put the hills where you want them and stuff. So we had this just killer terrain, and then he like bonded felt to it, right? Like put some adhesive and used a hairdryer and got like green pool table felt to stick to it, and it was mint, dude. We loved playing on that table. It was like, I'm still kind of sad that hobby shop closed down, and like to the point where a couple of years ago, the guy that used to own it, he worked at Diebold, and then his like part-time job, because he was into like RC cars and stuff, so is kind of like selling weed, right? It's like, well, I'm going to sell to my friends so I can pay for my own addiction, right? So he opened up a hobby shop so he could like fund his own RC car problem, and but anyways, so it turned into the hangout for all of us, like when we were in college, because it was like right down the street from the community college that we all went to. And I would say from the time I was 16 till about 28, I spent a lot of time hanging around that store, and like all of my friends from back then were from there and everything. So whenever he finally closed it down, he just needed to retire out, and business had gone south because Magic the Gathering it turned every hobby shop into a card shop.
Yeah.
And it's just like, well, you're selling cards, right? And it's like, no, we have D&D. Oh, I don't want that stuff. So it was kind of going bankrupt anyway. So he got out while the getting was good. But he moved down to Florida. I looked him up and I called him, and it was just like, hey, Harold, I haven't talked to you in about 10 years, man. Just want to see, you still kicking, talk about the good old days kind of thing,
Yeah.
And just visited with the guy a little bit, and but that was kind of neat, but it's like those bonds with people that I still have today. I still talk to some of those guys that I haven't laid eyes on in 15 years. So yeah, it was a good time. Back whenever we had friends that you had to be in the same zip code, to actually, to interact. But now everybody's spread out across the internet, and I guess, tabletop simulator, right? That's about all we got.
Yeah, it's like, well, and things like MechWarrior, right? You get
yeah, true that.
It's interesting that you bring that up, because it's like, I feel like, most of my gaming friends over the years, things just kind of fall by the wayside. But I have like one or two that I'm still in touch with after all these years. But it's funny that along the way, though, it's like the friends that I meet online that I actually keep the longest. Because it's kind of like no matter where you move, they're still going to be like, you pop into TeamSpeak there. These days Discord, right? So it's like, I met Jim, fuck man, I don't know how long ago it was. It's been a minute. But
yeah, it's been a hot 6-7 years.
That's roughly how long, we've been gaming and doing stuff together. And there's been a few people like that over the years that I've just like kind of bounced around with. Like every now and then, like I'll run into, we have another friend, but like I'll run into Medic and like another Discord server, be like, oh hey man, what's going on? Didn't know you were a fan of this game. And
dude, me and Medic and unfortunately the other people that were around from that. Remember when Tribes 1 came out?
Yes,
we used to play Tribes together online. Back, what was that, 97, 98, something? Yeah, so we're from back then. Right. It's been a bit,
right? But it's just kind of fun. Like it's kind of fun to see these different people in different places.
Yeah, like, but I'm just saying, like some of these friendships, like purely online, have never met the guy, right? But it was the thing where we had the gaming clan of people. It was there was like 12 of us. It wasn't like a huge, like if you go over to the clan that he's in right now, right, then it's like there's 100 people on, right? So you never really hurt for a game, but everybody specifically plays the one thing that they play, right? So it's like, oh, I'm here to play Destiny, so I'm going to play Destiny with this 10, 15 people, right? But nobody else in the clan plays that because they're all playing their own thing, right? So it's not like the whole group floats around different games. And with the people that we had back then, it was very much that. So it was like you could play a different game every night of the week. And it actually got kind of expensive because, keeping up with what everybody else was getting, it's just like, oh, who bought a new game this week? Damn, that's $60. All right, I'll do it. But it was just, there was no rule to do it, but it's just kind of like, well, if you don't want to get like left out a couple nights a week, then you need to pick up the new hot thing that just came out that, whoever jumped in, because it'd be like 3-4 people decide to go in on something, and then the rest of us would kind of follow along. But it was cool because, oh my God, we played everything. It was like, is it multiplayer? Cool, we're playing it. It's happening. And that's why I'm broke now.
Well, I think the online communities is probably worth, a whole show of its own, but it is always hard when there are certain games that bring you together with people and then that game ends or fades away, and you feel like those people kind of go a separate way from you. I know I've run into that a few times.
Yeah, I've definitely done that too. Yeah.
Well, and that's what I mean about the other group that we had back in the day, was like the games came and went, but the people is who we were there for. Right?
Yeah.
So we were just, it's like we're a gang of friends, and it doesn't matter what we're playing. So, it's like, what are you playing this week? All right, I'm in. Or even if I didn't have any interest in it, I'd still hang out and just chat with them. So
yeah.
And it's kind of like, that is what I would like to see Other Worlds turn into, is not like a bunch of niche communities that are under one umbrella, but
sort of
more of like
each other.
Yeah, it's more like, here's a mass of people that play everything, and then somebody comes in and just says, hey, I want to play StarCraft tonight, who's in, right? And then they'll find somebody, whatever.
Yeah.
Or MMOs or
that's perfect, dude, because like you were talking about the other day about wanting to try and find a persistent game for us to play, and immediately it was just like, let's brainstorm this out and figure that out. And I think in the short term, we're gonna I think we're gonna try to do the Minecraft thing, but I would definitely like to try and find something a little bit more persistent to play as a community.
I would love to play Empyrean if we had a server that we didn't have to maintain ourselves. and the game didn't like have massive world wiping patches about once a month or whatever. I don't know, man. There's some huge modded up Empyrean servers that are out there, but yeah, I don't know. I like the game. There's things I don't like about the game, but there's a lot that I do.
And, there's things that I don't like about it either, but the things that I do like, I really like them.
Yeah.
Like, I think it's a far cry better game than Space Engineers, like, by and large.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
I mean, I know Space Engineers has, quote unquote, the tires thing, right? Like, you can actually drive vehicles.
Right. Yeah, it would be nice. It would be nice if they put that in, but still, the hovercraft stuff. Like, Space Engineers just doesn't really have like hovercraft things where you're making a land speeder, right? Because they do have the wheels. So it's kind of like, well, but honestly, in Empyrean, once you get to the point where you're just building like little spaceships, because they hover very stably, I kind of don't like that, honestly. They're a little too stable. I wish gravity was more of a thing, right? But it's kind of like, once you get a small ship, there's really no reason to have a ground vehicle at that point, because you just fly to wherever, get out, chop down trees or whatever you need, right? But some of those mining vehicles are redonkulous, though. Like who was it back in Space Game Junkie? They made like a giant mining ship, and the ship was huge enough that it could actually like reach around a whole asteroid and just mine it from all sides.
Yeah, I forget who did that, but I remember that one. Yep.
Yeah, it was bonkers. It was like the Death Star hula hoop.
Yeah, it was like a giant donut, and it would just like go consume an asteroid. Pretty gnarly.
Yeah.
But I mean, it would be kind of cool to find a little.
Do you know the game that could be just dope when it comes out, right? Is that what is it called? Is it Starbase or whatever, with the robots? Everybody plays as like a robot.
I think that one's already out, actually.
No, it isn't. Not yet. Yeah, if it was out, I'd be playing it right now.
Well, from my understanding, that's going to be a subscription model.
I'm okay with that. That's fine. As long as the game is actually maintained and whatever. So, Dual Universe, right? Like, I have an account for that I haven't used for like a year.
All right, yes.
I watch Marky.
Starbase actually comes out this year, June 17th.
Damn.
Oh, that's a couple weeks.
Yes. So whenever I come back from hell, I mean the beach. That's a story. I found out, you know how I am about people, right? I love people, like big crowds, right? It's like the more people, the better. I just want to die. Right. And then, throw like humidity and stuff on top of that, right? So I got roped into this, like, we're going to the beach, right? And it's wife's idea of vacation, right? And it's her and the neighbors. There's an older couple lives over next door, and we're real friendly with them. So it's like, oh yeah, well, we're gonna rent this beach house, and then I find out, oh no, there's gonna be like 8 people there. And I'm just like, okay.
So you were talking about dual universe. The thing about dual universe is while the technology backing dual universe is interesting and entertaining, it's like a grand version of Space Engineers on a level of frustration that I can't even begin to describe. And what I mean by that is, it's kind of like it's the land grab, right? Like you get in quick, get in fast. Those that have had early access or access to the alpha and the beta get a massive advantage over those that haven't. So like when the game went live, like when the game does go live officially, because it's still in beta right now, it's an open beta. When it goes live officially, like they're not going to take anything away from anyone. So like all of these people that have built up these massive like industrial like whatever are going to be the money maker, wealthy people in the game. And you kind of need that, but like on the other hand, though, the problem that's going to come into play is what is the motivation?
Remember when we interviewed those guys and I told them, because they were like, yeah, it'll be like full on PvP, do whatever you want to do, and then there's going to be like one Stargate that can get out of the system, and I was just like, oh no, because as soon as this becomes like a public, open thing, then you're going to get like Goon Swarm come in and they're going to take control of that Stargate, and that's going to be it. Right. So
yeah, well, there's not even a Stargate though. Like that's not even planned yet. So it's like one giant solar system. And the thing is, though, is like this giant solar system takes forever to traverse, because if you're using like sub warp speed, it can take hours. So I remember I flew from the starting planet all the way out to this other planet called Jago, and it took me 4 hours at max speed to get there. 4 real hours. Yikes. And so,
so was there at least like a waypoint to aim at, or was it like, oh no, I was off by a couple degrees and I missed by like 5 hours?
Well, no, I missed by about a half an hour. So like I got pretty close, but like then I had to do like the slowdown, and the slowdown kind of screwed me up. So it took me about once I got to the planet, it took me about half an hour just to actually get into the planet's gravity and then actually go land somewhere. So it just, there's a lot to it from a mechanic. So it's like Space Engineers meets Kerbal Space Program meets like EVE Online's griefing like system. So it's interesting.
Yeah, and well, okay, so we knew, and as predicted, saw happen on day one. Marky Dragon, the Land Baron, came in. Right? Because any game that's actually got like persistent real estate, Mark is going to be there. Yep. And he wants like right in the town square, because that's where the money is at. So is he still buying up like every plot of land around him? Like what's he using for currency to do that? Like in-game money or what?
And he's got a lot. He actually swapped plots with me at one point, because I got smart and I got one right next to him. Because I knew.
It's like 2 gamers, 1 plot.
That's right. But we traded plots. I haven't logged into that game in probably 4 months at this point, 5 months maybe.
Because there's no game there. It's just the.
Well, and I was also in the middle of a move, but like at the same time, like. It's not really worth my frustration right now, because it just takes a lot. Like if you really want to build anything, like you need a lot of resources to do a lot of things. And while I could trade with people, and while I could like make deals, or I could mine resources and sell them and then buy like components and parts that are already pre-made, it's very much a grind fest, to get what you want, to build what you want. Which is why
it would be so better if it was like Star Wars Galaxies, where instead of like I own my acre of land and I do my thing on it, is more like, okay, we made a city, and we all like cohabit in this and work together, right? So yeah, I don't know. Maybe it'll be that way, but it'll be
that's kind of the direction he's gone. So he's got like so that's what he's trying to. Well, in a weird way, he's trying to actually build that out in the game itself. So he's using the game mechanics to almost build out what you're talking about. So him and his wife have like multiple characters and multiple plots that are all connected, and they've built this giant monstrosity of a construct in this game and on this planet, and it's like industrial center for Jago. And they've invited anybody who's a manufacturer to come out there. They can sell their wares on his platform. And he, like I said, they've like cored out an entire mountain. Like it's massive. I think I took you on a tour of it one time.
So pretty soon he'll have like a giant Amazon warehouse with drones flying out to deliver stuff.
Almost, because I went in. The last thing I did before I stopped playing for a little while, not because I'm not going to play again. I just took a break from playing. But the last time I was in looking around, I went through his manufacturing area, and it's just like he has an entire like gigantic wall of like 10 by 14 large containers, and you're just like, Jesus, like, and they're all like interlinked, and they're connected to the different manufacturing equipment, and the game's skill based, so like you have to like train up skills in order to be able to like be more efficient at a thing, and it trains in real time. So that's something that they took from Eve, and it's very.
That's another thing I don't like so much, right?
Well,
it's real time clock, because it's just like, well, I'll never catch up to the people that have been playing a year more than me.
Well, unless they stop playing, but you're correct. So that's one of those things where like it's very unique, and if you're gonna play it, you got to put a lot of time and effort into it. And I just don't have the time sink. Like I've been playing Eve long enough to where I can actually just go in and like run a couple of missions in Eve and like have a good time, because I've built myself up to that point. But I was also like single and in college when I built up that level of stupidity, I guess. I don't know. But yeah, so I don't know. I just think persistent games like this, then there needs to be more than just like, check out this cool sandbox you can play in. And it's just like, well, the sandbox is cool and it's a lot of fun, and the lore is interesting, but like, if I'm just doing this just to do it, I don't feel like this has the purpose is here for me. Like where's the draw to do it though? So, and that's where I feel like in something like Star Wars Galaxies, there was a sandbox, but like you had a purpose. So it's just like, well, it's a sandbox. Well, what do you want to do? Well, maybe I want to be a bounty hunter. What can bounty hunters do? Well, they can take bounty missions and go hunt Jedis, and just like, oh shit, really? Yeah. Or you can go hunt down other players, and there's an actual like bounty system like in the game where you can go hunt other players. So that gives you something to do, because it's just like, well, now I can be space police and like go in and collect a bounty on somebody. That gives me a purpose. So I want to be a really good bounty hunter, so I better like start training. I better start like doing what I need to do to be really good at it.
So basically Marky Dragon will be Jabba the Hutt, and he'll put out like bounties on people's heads. That
I mean maybe because like the thing that's going on in like Dual Universe is like, he who has all the money makes the rules, so to speak. But like, again, the thing that I have issues with like this and with Space Engineers is, what's the purpose other than to like build cool stuff? All right, cool. I've built a cool thing. Now what do I do with that cool thing? Oh, well, that player just blew up my cool thing. Well, shit. Now I got to go rebuild that cool thing. Do I have enough resources to rebuild the cool thing? No. All right, I'm out.
Yeah. Which is where I think this Starbase game has an advantage, because it starts out with factions, right? Like, you're going to be on the red team or the blue team. So
that's why I like Empyrean so much, because Empyrean also has factions, and there's a ton of NPCs to interact with, different faction NPCs. You can go and like build faction standing with another like species, and you can get like be able to go into their shops and buy their stuff or sell stuff to them. There's an actual in-game economy system that's like game wide. And it's gotten to the point now where it's not just a single solar system, but it's multiple solar systems and a galaxy like emulated, like, it's huge. Like Empyrean's like massive, and there's missions and quests that you can go and do. Like it gives you things that you can go and do, and so it almost gives you a sense of purpose because it's kind of like yeah. And then there's the big modified servers out there that you mentioned, but I feel like the thing with Starbase is also going to be an MMO, but again, without having played it, I watched Blue Drake do a thing because I guess he got in on the early access for Starbase, and I was not impressed. I'm very cautious about Starbase.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's like I'm to the point where I'm immune to hype. It's just like that looks interesting. I hope something comes of it, but I don't feel any investment in things anymore because it's too many times, too many Star Citizens. Speaking of Elite, Odyssey still kind of feels like a waste of $40.
I've given up on that game until I see something substantial. I don't want to give Elite Dangerous the time of day. That game massively needs to have some kind of real player organization, real economy system, because at the end of the day, if I'm mining stuff just to go sell somewhere, I just feel like that's kind of pointless and boring. Like, I want to mine this stuff because maybe I want to use it. Can I build something with this? Or like,
it basically needs to be under new ownership is what needs to happen with that game. Somebody needs to get a hold of it and just be like, we're going to actually make something of this instead of.
Because I mean, it's a beautiful game, and the flight mechanics are fun, and like the sim that's going on is good. It's just like that's all that it is. It's literally flight simulator but in space. I feel.
Well, it's got the BattleTech problem. It's all RNG. Every mission feels like every mission. The planet map is different, but we're still doing the same thing, right? So it's like the mechs that show up are different, but I'm still doing the same objective kind of thing. But at least there's a sense of advancement to Mech Warrior, where like with Elite, it's just kind of like you get in the ship that you like and then stay there. They put the fleet carriers in. That's cool. 5 billion credits. So that says like how much money people had that they needed to find a money sink to get out of the game, because people were just like, the only thing to do was just like make money, and people had giant piles of money with nowhere to spend it. So we have to give them something to spend it. And they did, but they're actively hostile to cooperative play. Like, okay, in Odyssey, you and me, we take a mission and we go down to a base and we're supposed to like infiltrate and steal something and get out, right? And you get killed. Well, you actually spawn at the prison that may be 100 light years away, and you don't have your ship because it's still parked on the planet where you died. So you have to take a taxi from the prison back and just like wait, and I can't do anything about it, so I got to wait on you. Also, loot is not instanced, right? So if I pick up all the stuff and you didn't pick it up, then sucks to be you. Yeah, no, it's not good. They're still at the point where like people had all this money and they were like, well, we don't want to have gold sellers in the game, so we're not going to let players trade money between each other. And it's like, we're way past that, guys. Like, let me actually trade money. Like, I would like to pay people to a fair split of a mission that we do. I don't want to be like, well, I'm the guy that had the mission, so I get 80% and then 20% gets split between the other 3 guys. That's bullshit. So yeah, just let us actually trade money and items and whatever. That's a huge thing that's holding that game back. They made a massively single player game, and it has the appearance of being MMO-ish, but the actual meaningful interaction you can have is about 0. And then they're continuing that in Odyssey. They're not getting better. And also, like, all the missions in Odyssey are like, hey, you want to do some crimes, right? It's like, or I could go out and be an explorer and like scan some space cactus or something that's growing and turn that in for money, right? No, it's not doing it for me. Like, I put a post up on their forum today that is like 2 pages long of, it's like 2 screens tall, basically, of just like, here's interesting non-combat things that you could have us do that would involve like being on foot. Like, hey, I get a mission to go out somewhere and find a broken down vehicle on the moon and repair it. How about that?
Well,
that's a thing.
And what's weird is, for what it's worth, Star Citizen's ground missions are actually drastically improving.
Oh yeah. The problem is, okay, I played Star Citizen. I reinstalled it the other day, right? And I woke up in my bed, and then I had to remember like what key gets me out of bed. It's a weird, like the Y key for some reason.
That
and then
is weird.
I walk out into the hall, and then I'm like, well, where's the ship hangar? I don't know. So then I wander around, and it's like walking around in Cyberpunk, right? It's like this big city, and I'm walking down hallways and stuff, and then I see a sign like, oh, train station. All right, this must be where I got to go. So I go down to the train station, and then there's a big subway map on the wall, and I got to take the green line down to the city center, and then I take the red line from there to the trade district, and then I have to change trains a third time and then take the white line to the starport. And it took me like half an hour or so to get from the bed to my ship, just to the terminal where I can summon the damn ship. And I'm just like, people look at Odyssey and they're like, well, it's kind of dumb, like the whole space station, it's this giant space station, but all the NPCs I interact with are in like one room. Because it's just a big room that's kind of partitioned off to look like multiple rooms, but it's a big cube that you're in. And people are like, well, how come there's no hallways? How come there's, this isn't spaced out? And I'm like, well, if you play Star Citizen, they kind of went to the other extreme with that, where they have like a mile of empty space that you just have to jog through for no reason and then figure out what trains you're going to get on.
I find that
I don't really want to do that.
I find it strange that you had that struggle, because usually the apartment has a direct line to the spaceport. So I don't know what happened, but usually you should be able to hop on one train and go straight to the spaceport from the apartments. But anyway, the interesting thing about Star Citizen, though, is like they do have ground missions now, and like tanks and stuff like that, and you can actually like deploy tanks and like go into these like bunker buildings. And like you actually go into the bunker, and then you take an elevator down, and it's just like you're clearing out a bunker full of bad guys and stuff like that for whatever reason. So
yeah, and that's cool. I just wish that Elite hadn't looked at Star Citizen and just been like, "Oh, we're going to do that too."
Correct.
Just be your own game, man. Like,
well, I feel
how many times have they done it? Like,
well, I feel like they keep adding. I feel like they keep adding content without improving the existing content. That's the problem. It's like, it'd be great if you guys improved the space content, instead of give me like space legs that's the exact same kind of content, but I'm just walking around and doing it instead of flying my ship. Like, hold on.
Yeah, and the grind factor super high, but it's not like fun grind or anything. So it's kind of like, yeah, I don't know. It's like the only thing to do other than make money is like engineer your ship, which is cool, but they made that like kind of pain in the ass, and somewhat improved over the weird like roulette wheel that it was at first. It was like playing a slot machine, because you never knew what you were going to get, right? It was just like throw materials in, pull the lever. Oh, you got a crappy roll. All right, roll again. Yeah, and they made it consistent now, so that's better. But you still have to like go hunt the stuff, and that means like driving an SRV around on planets, and you can pick up a rock, right? Like you drive around, and there'll be a rock that shows up on the radar after minutes and minutes of driving around, and you shoot it, and it breaks into like 3 fragments, and then you scoop those up, And congratulations, you got 3 of those. Right, now go hunt for another rock. So you don't find like, here's a place to mine ore from. It's really strange how that is.
What are your thoughts on all this, Malified? Did we lose Malified?
Elite or no? I was just muted and I couldn't figure out how to unmute for a second there. Sorry, are we talking about Elite? Or are we talking about
All of it?
All of it? Oh my gosh. For me, I tend to engage in a lot of games relatively shallow. And the ones that really grab me and I dive into are games that, typically have some sort of RPG style progression. I struggle to find motivation in games like Ark and to a lesser extent
Conan.
like Satisfactory, Conan, just because I feel like they're too open-ended. It's not like I'll go off and explore and go to have some fun and just get owned by some random monster. So yeah, I definitely have not found sort of my spirit guide for some of these games, but I get the appeal, I guess. It's just not a style of gameplay that I enjoy as much.
Yeah, see, I feel like these games need some sort. It can't be just pure sandbox, and you can't rely on other players to be the adversary, right? Because then that's a bit overwhelming, because PvP, what it is, right? Some people just aren't into that. I'm kind of like, I would much rather comp stomp than deal with other people, but cooperatively is great. So you need a game that's got persistence and some progression and whatnot, but it's also like there's an actual adversary to win against, kind of thing. So if you look at like Skyrim, right, there's a bunch of stories there that are kind of bite-sized things, but then there's the overarching campaign of what's actually going on in the world. And like there's the big bad at the end, right? But you have to like get to the point where you can actually fight that thing. So and it's about like all the fun you have along the way, and you get the like exploration of like, oh, let's do this dungeon or whatever, right? And that can be its own little mini struggle that is a story that you'll remember, right? But they all add up into the progress toward the eventual end goal, where we can go fight the bigger enemy, kind of thing. So these games that are meant to be like endlessly open-ended sandbox thing that never ends or whatever, I'm not so into that, because it just kills the progression thing. But man, if they had a Skyrim kind of game where it was just like, bring 3 friends, we're gonna play through Skyrim, dude, that's the deal, right? But whenever they made Elder Scrolls Online, they just made it like a never-ending like sandbox, and they lost all of that. So there's the WoW model, right? So it's got a ton of quests in it, but most of the quests in it are better done alone, because if you got other friends with you, they're just slowing you down, because you could just rip through this quest. It's not hard. It's just the going through the motions of doing it, right? And it's faster to solo it. And I don't need people like in EQ. It was like, oh, you need a party, because EQ was a meat grinder, right? Don't go alone. And MMOs now are like, well, it's a single player game for those people, because we don't want to lose those sales, but we have to put something in here that also requires a group too. I don't know. So I just feel like, okay, downscale that, make it an excellent story arc, and it can be as sandbox as it needs to be for a long time, but the goal is to build up to the point where you can actually like fight the enemy army or whatever, right? It's like, well, we might need to make spaceships and tanks and whatever because, you know, eventually we're going to attack that star base or whatever. And we can't do that with the crap that we start with. So, you know, 200 hours down the road, then we're expected to be able to do it. But it's gonna be a while, right? But don't make it like MMO. Just make it like massively cooperative, you know. So like bring 3 friends or whatever. You might meet 3 friends in the game, right? You don't need to bring them at the start, but have it just scaled so that the whole damn thing is instanced out, so that we can just cooperate and have our own story, and that would be cool.
Do you think that we're ever going to see that, I guess, is my question.
I don't know, man. In some sick way, Fallout 76 kind of almost is like that. Because it's a small group thing, right? Like the way it instances out. Because if it was 4 of us in there, then what's the game hold? Like 12 people tops?
So, yeah, well, the interesting thing about Fallout 76 though is it can be massively played single player, and you can then, like you said, you can definitely just go group up with your friends and some other stuff. Like if you're playing together, it's super easy. It's just like, well, all right, thanks for helping me with that quest. Well, what are you getting ready to go do? Well, I gotta go do this, this, and that, and then oh yeah, okay, well I'm gonna go do down here and do this. Like you can still keep playing together, but it's just like, you know, you can still go off and do your own things.
Right. But it's the thing of like, okay, I hit something that I need help with. Come over here, right?
Right.
As opposed, and there should always be things in the world that are tougher than what one person can handle. I'd
like the persistence. Maybe if like we were to engage in like our own private realm for it. I don't know if our buildings will stay persistent in that, or if the person who's paying for it gets online, then it's persistent.
Yeah, it's only that. It's you don't get like a private thing that persists without you logged in, but it's basically just like here's a server that's got a password on it, so only our group can go in there. And it's like, well, at that point it doesn't really matter because
right.
Yeah, I would have a Fallout 76 server if it persisted.
Yeah,
but I've purposely just said, well, no, I'm not going to give you money to run the server when I'm signed in. Like that just doesn't make sense. I even thought about just having a machine sitting there doing.
Yeah, does the idle click like every 10 minutes or whatever?
Yeah, just keep alive. Put an NPC in there, you know, of your own, and he just keeps the server alive.
Yeah, I mean, seriously, considered it because, apparently, as long as someone else is in the server when the primary player signs off, it stays up. But once everybody logs off, within 5 minutes, I guess they spin it down, and the only person who can spin it back up is the owner. So it is a very strange way of doing server, hosting to me.
It was like Ark, where it's like, hey, run your own server or rent one, right?
Yeah,
then that was great.
Well, I'm fine renting it. Like if they just force me to rent it, that's fine. But if I'm paying $10 a month, the damn thing should be up whenever my friends, anyone I invite, wants to play on it. But
imagine a world where you could then mod that server, right? It's like I own it, and then I can put my mods on it from Nexus or whatever, and we're gonna play this our way, right? Like, I think this monster is a little bit too easy. Let's turn him up or whatever, right? Mm-hmm. And just give you the freedom to craft your own experience for your friends. Cool. So I don't know. Maybe someday. Starfield. That'll be the one. Like, get hype. No.
Well, there's definitely a lot that's been on our minds for various games that we've played, and we have tons of love-hate relationships out there, and but yeah, I think that'll about do it for this episode.
I guess the topic is desperately hunting a persistent, progressive, cooperative experience in a open that we cannot damn find.
Well, yeah, one that checks all the boxes. Some check a few of the boxes, and then Some don't. So. Well, we're still running our giveaway over on our Discord, so if you guys head on over there, tell all your friends. We need to get ourselves up to 100 people. We're slowly making headway in that direction. But once we get there,
100
we'll be able...
people were giving the Discord away, or what?
We're giving some money away. We got some gift cards we got to give away. $25 gift cards. We got 4 of them. So 4 people are gonna win a $25 gift card. 1 person a week for 4 weeks. If you head on over to discord.otherworlds.gg, that is where you can find us. So pretty exciting stuff, exciting times. We also have community nights every Friday night. So come check those out as well. And we do have the social media groups. We do have a Steam group. And you can always catch somebody in our Discord playing something. So feel free to come on over. That'll do it for this episode. This has been episode number 22. No, 23.
23.
23.
Yeah.